Hello, Module 4 is here. Great job so far on the first modules. Now it's time to get down to business. Sales, making that money. So how do you pay for your business? That's what Module 4 is all about. Now, just to catch up, last time we learned about converting content to sales with call to actions, the marketing of your business. Now we'll learn about the different types of sales and buyers to prepare for developing your revenue model. So there's a few different sales methods that we'll talk about today. There's e-commerce, any transaction that takes place over the internet. Key advantages: lower costs, it's more lean, global market. Disadvantages to it: there's a lack of personal touch unless you really take that next step forward. Paranoia of scammers. Anyone can set up an e-commerce site. And who cannot experience product before the purchase? So by that we mean, if you want to test something out, if you can't test it out beforehand, a lot of people are still a little weary about that. And so if you wanted to touch something before you bought it, you can't do that over e-commerce. Retail, so your traditional brick and mortar, your storefront models. Key advantages: people can interact with the products, you can personally educate customers in real time, and you can create a more personal connection with the customer. Key disadvantages: obviously, because of the storefront model, there's a higher cost, there's time constraints, so you have to buy something when the store is physically open. So think about Best Buy or the grocery store. If they're only open from 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, you can only buy at those certain times, and they're limited to a local market. So you could be in a small town where you don't have these large brick and mortar companies, so you can't buy some of the things that they would typically sell. Consulting, an hourly or project-based pricing for your time plus expertise. Key advantages: you name your own price, you establish your authority status, and you're always taking on new challenges and projects. The key disadvantages to consulting: if you cannot sell yourself, guess what? You're probably not going to be able to do it. It'll be a huge challenge. You're going to work a lot. It's time in return for cash and job security as well. Subscription based, brick and mortar storefront model at times, but the key advantages are convenience for consumers, regular fulfillment of supply, recurring revenue, customer retention. What's great about this is that every month, if you have a subscription model, you can do it. Netflix, great example, $8 to $12 a month. And it just shows up every single month. Key disadvantages to this: pricing complexity. Customer service will need to be top notch. People are always going to need something every month. So how do you sell this? Well, selling is exciting and scares a lot of people, but don't worry. If you're not in a shopping mall, think about this. If you're not in a shopping mall, don't expect people to be in the sales mindset. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're on the internet and you're not surfing for sales, people are, if you're not, thinking about pulling out your wallet and making and spending money, you're not going to, right? And so if you're not in a shopping mall, or you're not in a place that you're thinking about buying, it's far more difficult to make a sale. So when you go to the shopping mall, why those retailers can be charged so much more for rent every week or every month is because they know that people are going there to make a transaction. You want to actively educate them on your business and guide them into a sale. Find trigger points, find what gets them to make that transaction. And we've talked about this several times. Usually it takes 5 to 7 positive interactions, 5 to 7 positive reinforcements with a person before they're ready to make a purchase from you. If they aren't ready immediately, just plant the seed for future harvesting. It's okay if a person isn't ready. You've heard of layaways. The reason they have that is because they don't want to lose that person. They spent so much money getting them there. If they can keep them in a different way and get them later, keep them. It's not all about the now, it's the forever. Don't think of the short term, think of the long term. Customer profile case studies. So you have the desperate buyer, the I need it now, and they will basically pay whatever they can to get it. A great example, I was watching a movie called Christmas with the Cranks a few nights ago, and the surprise party was happening, and they needed a ham. She was willing to break the bank to buy the ham. Basically, she needed food for this party, and if she didn't have a ham, she didn't have the food, she would not be able to accomplish what she needs. When someone's desperate, it'll be the easiest sale you've ever made. The referral buyer, great market for the referral buyer. You leverage other people's networks. Someone's good at A and you're good at B. So when one of their customers says, hey, I need A, what do? They basically refer work to you from them. If someone comes to you looking for someone to solve a problem for them, you know someone that can do such a thing, make the handoff. It's an opportunity for a commission or broker's fee. It can happen on a B2B level as well. Example, Lead Pages, which is a call to action web service that creates websites that you can drag and drop basically your information so that you can put together call to action websites. What's great about this site is that if you give them more business, Lead Pages more business, they in return will give you a cutback from it. The window shopper, not necessarily ready now. It's the person on the internet. It's the person that is just walking around, the window shopper, not necessarily ready now to buy, but you want to offer value in exchange for free content. And so you can get that email address and you start planting the seed now. Because, like we said, they're a window shopper. They're going to be there soon, but not necessarily now. So we want you to make early sales. Why? Because you don't want to waste a lot of time on something to find out that no one wants your product. The number one validator of how much people really want your solution to the problem is sales, is money. We've talked about this before. You can go to your mom and say, Mom, do you want this? And she will say yes. Mom, am I a good singer? Mom, how do I look? Great. But then you go out in the outside world and everyone is a complete 180 difference than what your mom said. So that's why money and sales are the number one way to do it. Could you make a sale right now? Why do early sales? Why do them? Why do early sales? You can bootstrap your own company. Maybe you haven't thought about bootstrapping your own company. You have no outside investors, which means you own 100% of the company. And you don't have to have a ton of money to bootstrap your own company. Why? Because if you do early sales, you're generating that income and then you can reinvest it back into the company. And you have no wasted time whatsoever. Sales is a huge, huge, huge step. It's an amazing step. There's nothing more amazing than making a sale. Because it's all that hard work paid off and it makes it worth it. But sales scares a ton of people. It scares a ton of aspiring entrepreneurs. But if you want to have a company, you must have sales. It's as simple as that. I can't beat around the bush. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a business owner, your company has to have sales. Because if you don't have sales, you're not a business. How to master sales? There are a ton of online payment processors. Here's what I would say to you. Don't worry about which one you will use for the rest of your life. Rather, focus on the actual sale. People are trying to find excuses for everything. You do not want to be that excuse. You do not want to be that excuse. There are a ton of online payments out there, and what we find day to day is that people are looking for excuses as to why they can't start their business. Don't worry about the online payment processor. Focus on the sale. You can worry about which payment processor to use once you have sales. Another excuse that a lot of people come up with is, do I need a full-fledged proposal? And the answer, to be honest, is maybe. But let's start with what you're offering. Your company will give the customer your company will give the customer X in return for a value of money, right? And see how easy that was? Don't focus on the full-fledged proposal. If you're going to give X, so you're going to give a series of things in return for financial compensation. Make it that simple. Don't worry about the full-fledged proposal. Maybe the customer asks for that thing, and that's okay. But what you want to focus on right now is if they really want it, and if you agree on those numbers. Then, if you need to put together a full-fledged proposal that's pretty and has all this kind of legal jargon, then you can do those things. But make sure the transaction is going to happen first before you spend all this time on proposing what's going to happen. See how easy that was? Seriously. Use that template. Your company will give X in return for money. That's simple. Because if the person doesn't want that, then don't waste your time on it. Don't waste your time trying to figure out if someone wants your business or not. You don't have the time right now to do that. You don't have the time. Focus on if they want it. If they want it, tell them it's going to cost $5, $500, $5 million, whatever the number is. And if they want it, they'll do it. And then if they want a proposal, then do it. Stop finding excuses as to why you can't do the work. Because ultimately, that's why they're hiring you, right? Do they want what you want? And can you offer it to them at a price that you feel comfortable with? It's as simple as that. Think about how Craigslist or a yard sale work. They list the product and make the transaction. It's that simple. Do that yourself. What are you offering? How much does it cost? That's what you need to focus on early. That's it. What are you offering? And what is it going to cost someone to get it? What do people want and how can you give it to them immediately? Why are there so many transactions that happen on Craigslist? Because you know exactly what you're going to get and you know how much it's going to cost. You go to a yard sale. Yes, I want that sweater. It's $5. Sold. Okay, no, I don't want that sweater. Or I want that sweater, but I'm willing to pay $3 for it. Okay, now that's negotiating. Are you willing to do that? Cool, take the money. What are you going to sell? What are you going to sell? Have you thought about it yet? What are you going to sell? What is the problem that you're solving? What are you going to sell? Can you go to 5 people right now, those 5 target customers? Do they really want it, and what are they willing to pay for it? What's the going rate in the market? Are you a premium price? Are you going to lowball yourself? What is the going rate in the market? All right. I think you're ready. Go sell. Do it. Go sell. Key takeaways. Finding, incentivizing, and convincing your target customers, you have the list already, the people, and make the purchase. Finding, incentivizing, and convincing target customers to make the purchase. Be patient. If the first one doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Move on. Stop dwelling. However, do understand why they said no. Do understand why they don't want your product. Maybe they do, but they just don't have the capital right now to make the purchase. Maybe it's the wrong time of week or month. Maybe they just invest in something else and they will invest in you in a month or two. Be patient. Very little portion of sales happen immediately. That's what this entire thing has been going over. Very little portion of sales happen immediately. There's a reason why. And when that person's ready, the trigger happens, they'll make the transaction. Email sales with strong call to actions can be extremely effective and make your product or service or company extremely easy to understand to make the sales process more quickly. Remember the 5 to 7 interaction rule? It takes 5 to 7 positive interactions with someone, typically, until they make that transaction. You think when the person's going to the store, they know what they want? Probably not, right? Or if they do, they know exactly what they want. It's because they've done research on it. They looked at reviews. They looked at other competitors, and they decided on that. But there's interactions in there. Don't say that they walked in that store and didn't want it. They knew they needed something like that. They'd done their research in mastering sales. So next up, we have the sales funnel and the revenue model. Extremely exciting stuff so that you focus specifically on those customers and that model that you want. So that's it for module 4, part Module 4, Part 1. Module 4, Part 1. And coming up next, 4.2, the sales funnel and revenue model.